This podcast is brought to you by Cousin Diane Kopek. Amarillo, Texas is not, shall we say, a cultural hotspot. Well, except for the culture of cowboy boots, and cowboy churches, and cow ranches, and, well, cows. But Diane, like an East Coast fairy godmother, uses her energy to cut through the perennial scent of cow pies, turn dusty daily life to pure sparkle and pizzazz, and renovate your cow print boots into taxi print stilettos. Cousin Diane, you don't want cows, you want Kopek.
That was absolute chaos. I'm impressed with how good that was, considering the energy level that Joshua was in.
Welcome to Little, Middle, and Biggle. I'm your middle brother, Joshua,
I'm your little brother, Andrew.
And I'm your big ol' brother, Noah.
and we are the ones who will answer your little, middle, and biggle questions today. I've been working on my microphone setup, so hopefully I will not sound like I am talking through a tin can on a string from Mars. But we'll
We
see how
got
that comes out.
we got lots of complaints on the email about that last
Yeah,
time.
the inbox, it was overflowing with nothing, in fact, with the digital equivalent of dust bunnies. But that's okay, because we're here.
Okay, is it not kind
And
of funny that we say our inbox was overflowing still with email when we have a literally infinite inbox?
That's a good
Not
point.
literally
Can it
infinite, but
can it overflow?
I
I
mean,
mean, it
like,
sure feels like it overflows. I don't know about you guys, but if I get like more than a dozen emails, I'm like, I'm drowning.
yeah, actually, I definitely say it feels overflowing when it's like the entire screen is unread.
Hmm,
I'd say that's overflowing.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Anyways,
yep,
Reasonable.
yeah. On
Anyways,
that topic, do you ever think it's weird that we say fire off emails? Like, pew pew, I'm firing them off. Where does that even come from? Like, you don't fire off any other type of communication.
I mean, I feel like I envision when I'm sending emails that there's this little like cannon that pops up from my laptop and just like
Ooh,
or
that's interesting.
maybe like a laser on top of the building that shoots at a satellite that reflects it
yeah.
somewhere
Yeah,
else.
actually joking aside, I think that is kind of I can see the visualization there. Like you hit it and they just like as soon as you hit send, it's just all these little, electromagnetic radiations are just like
I guess
Hmm,
so. Yeah, that's true.
interesting.
I
Whenever I
think
heard people, or what were you saying, Andrew?
no, you first.
Okay, whenever I think about the phrase firing off emails, I just imagine like a little email cupid with arrows that are tipped with little message icons going bing around the world, diaper included. Anyway, Andrew, you were saying something.
Oh, I have no idea what it was because I was so enthralled with your Cupid imagery.
Oh,
Okay,
thanks. You're
fun
making me
fact
blush.
of fun fact of the podcast. And we will get to the little middle and biggle question soon. But someone's yelling in my window about beans. um,
Great. This is what you get when you have a podcast with a college student.
yep. And so Cupid's okay, like love darts as a
love darts.
as a thing of Valentine's Day. Like Cupid
Mm-hmm.
shoots love darts,
Mm-hmm.
is actually thought to originate from snail mating rituals because this is so weird. They develop this thing that's called a love dart in like their procreation area. And
Yeah.
then when they're procreating, it just shoots out, like fires as a projectile and embeds itself in the other snail. And when only embeds itself like 30% of the time. But when it does, it increases the chances that the other snail's eggs will be fertilized. But like they like impale the other snail. Like there are pictures of it going through the other snail's head entirely. But the other snail's still alive.
Have you ever read about octopi and how they deliver their genetic material?
No.
Uh, well, I'll let you Google that.
Okay.
There is also an element of projectile, but that's neither here nor there. What is here is my little question, which is, have you guys had any hot takes recently? So pretty open-ended. Mine is spicy food sucks. And I'm just gonna drop that there because it's a hot take. But because it is a hot take, if you guys want to rail against it, you're more than welcome to.
Well, very fitting for it to be a hot take, considering it's about spicy food. But also, I love spicy food. I I feel like your argument for why it sucks is going to be it's literally food that causes you pain.
Yes. And so my thought is that pain is an adaptive response that we humans have evolved to avoid things that are bad. So ergo,
Yeah.
something that causes a pain response, bad.
But it does have a, I mean, there are flavors that go along with it. But maybe if you could isolate that flavor.
Yeah, like if you could get the chili pepper flavor and then just remove all the capsaicin, that
But
would be
would it be
great.
the same? Would it be? I don't feel like it'd be the same
Yeah.
feeling. I don't know. I'm pretty sure they've probably done loads of research on this, like why we enjoy spicy foods. And I'm not saying we actually know for sure, but I feel like there is some merit to them being enjoyable. Although
I
some of that
feel
merit may just be that you know we enjoy the small adrenaline rush that comes with the feeling of your mouth being aflame.
Yeah, I feel like the merit might be that some people like you just like aren't really hooked up right. And so they have this thing that goes from the pain center into the happy center. And it's like pain, pain, give me more of that in my mouth.
It the reality is just that everybody is a mouth sadochist.
Except for
Mouth
me, apparently.
sadicus.
Or
Do
yeah,
So I
you
feel like a
maybe not
lot of people
everybody.
aren't.
do
A
you
lot of
mean
people are.
masochist, Andrew?
I thought it's sadochist. I thought there's a difference between like never mind.
The sadism is the enjoying of the inflicting of the pain. The masochism is the enjoying of the getting of the
So
pain.
Okay.
sadism would be creation of the spicy sauces. Masochism
Yeah,
would be enjoyment of the spicy sauces.
yeah,
All
I
peppers
feel
are
like
sadochists.
I feel like
yes.
there's a there's a point where it's not as reasonably enjoyable,
Oh,
where
certainly.
you lose the flavor and it's just like absolute pain. And when you're eating it, it is most likely because you're just like, I want to feel what it feels like for someone to like do a blowtorch on my mouth, but without losing, my tongue.
Yeah.
And but I mean, in smaller amounts, I don't know. I feel like it adds something to the foods, but I don't know. This is now you have me thinking how much of it is just me not being wired correctly. Maybe I'm just not
Yeah.
wired right. Got some
I mean,
wires
also,
crossed some
okay,
places.
mechanistically, I could see how maybe because it increases your salivation and your lacrimation and thus kind of like wets the inside of your nose, and kind of it facilitates the binding of taste particles and smell particles. Maybe what some people enjoy about the spicy food is that they then taste all the other flavors a little more keenly. But for me, it's just kind of overshadowed by, you know, the pain.
Pain.
I I would be really curious for you to try like Indian food, like exactly the same meal, but one of them is spicy and one of them isn't. I'm not sure how possible that would be because a lot of the spices are just inherently spicy, but also have all the other flavors. But I
Yeah.
feel like, real authentic Indian food that is typically very spicy and kind of like a more complex way than some other spicy foods would totally not be the same without the spiciness.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
Mm.
the
I could
experiment you could
totally
do with
be
that
wrong.
would just be like get the same meal and then add capsaicin to one. Because you can get just like pure liquid capsaicin. So you could just like have two, dump a bunch of capsaicin on one, and then be like, which one do you taste more strongly? And I think
Interesting.
capsaicin itself does not really have a flavor. So
I don't
Josh
know.
has done his
Now I'm
research into this
curious.
hot take. We shouldn't try to argue.
I was
that's the
just
best hot takes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I like spicy food. Now you just have me questioning why instead of just
Well,
like spicy food. Anyways, hot takes. I'm glad that you went first so that I knew what a hot take was.
yeah. Andrew, do you have a hot take? Because I know that you know what a hot take is.
Um, well, the one I was just having 3 minutes ago is that leaf blowers are just unnecessary. Why not use a
Hmm.
broom?
Oh man, can you imagine brooming up? Okay, so you live in California. You have lived in Amarillo. You have never lived in Arkansas or Tennessee or Kansas, where the leaves do not come by the thousands. They come by the armies. And yeah, and trying to sweep up all the leaves would be a disaster. Um,
Actually, I would be I think as an alternative answer to that, I think you should just go out and try to sweep a pile of leaves and
Well,
yeah.
okay.
and if it works really well, then hot take, maybe brooms are would be good for that.
I mean, I guess what I'm thinking about is because here I just see them like leaf blowing the sidewalk, and that's what happens like at home, is
Hmm.
they leaf blow the porch. But I feel like a broom would just work better and not use gas or electricity.
I mean, I'm all for it in that regard. As far as the completeness that can be done in a 5 minute time span, I still think that Leaf Blower will have it. But also, I used to hate at Hendrix that the leaf blowers there was a leaf blower season that
Mm-hmm.
went from about October to roughly mid-April, so pretty much the entire school year, wherein it was impossible to take a nap because every time you tried, as soon as you laid down you'd just be drifting off to sleep, and then you hear the
Yeah.
as the
Well,
leaf
see,
blower turned
that's
on.
another thing besides gas and electricity is that they use, you know,
More
patience.
noisy.
Noise pollution. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
I
wonder.
really, if you had like, one of those brooms they used to, a push broom, I
Mhm.
feel like you could get the same
Well, okay,
amount done.
are we talking about just like sidewalks?
Yeah. And
Oh,
like
I mean,
streets.
I can see that. If you're not worried about trying to get rid of all the leaves, you're just trying to clear a path, then yeah, I feel like a push broom would not be the craziest thing.
Well,
Yeah.
it's not like even if they're getting leaves from the grass, they aren't getting rid of them. They're just moving them. So just
Well,
use a
yeah, but
rake.
then, oh man, Rake is a lot of manpower for not a lot of dad. Dad having raked many a lawn in his life, many a lawn in Kansas. I think he would disagree.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I'm all for the not freaking out about having leaves
That
because
that said,
you want
it
to.
is with a rake, it is easier to make a giant pile of leaves,
Exactly. That's another
which
benefit.
is it's a trade-off either way. But I don't know.
You know what?
I would classify this as a warm take.
Yeah, or
Yes.
at least a hot take that I'm not gonna like try and splash a bunch of cold water on. So,
Thanks.
Noah, do you have a hot take at this point?
Oh man, I feel like I've probably thought of some random things like that, and um oh, okay, I have one.
Right.
Hot take: the new style item of the 2020s should be capes.
I
And
mean, yeah.
I mean, like, hear me out. Why do people never wear capes? Like, literally anytime. I mean, it's just for our listeners, I just made a whole bunch of capes for some friends for the second year in a row, not
I mean,
including
you don't
2020.
even need that context. You don't even need that
And
context. Just
well, I
say
mean,
that
I was just
capes
gonna
are.
say, like, we then wander around, and everywhere we go, people are like, "Oh my goodness, you guys are all wearing capes. This is amazing." No one goes, "Wow, hats! I love y'all's hats." Or like, "Man, have you guys seen? They're wearing pants." Like, but like capes, I mean that you can have like flashy pants or cool hats or something, but capes just in and of itself, like capes made, hypothetically of the leftovers from Joanne. Um, Everyone's just stoked about. So I think that the hot take is that we should begin mass producing capes um, as a fundraiser for something
Could put
because
them on
they will be the next
pineapplelady.com.
big thing. Yeah.
I mean, if you sent me a cape, I would wear it to class, as long as it's long and rippling and cool looking.
I
Yeah.
mean, can I here? Well, I guess I'll show them to you later because we're doing a podcast and you can't really see. But I have two.
Thanks for
I've
finally getting on speed that this is indeed an audio only medium.
Yeah, so that would not work very well. But I'll show you later. I have two that are glorious in completely different ways, and can just send one to you, and you can start the Malibu chapter
Yes,
of the Cape organization as yet to be named.
I
indeed.
mean, if you have two, I'll take the other.
I mean, that sounds perfect. I think you would both love either one of these.
Great.
I would love
So,
to start a cape thing, and it's like that Dr. Seuss book where all of the birds start getting stars,
oh yeah,
Oh
the
yeah.
Sneeches,
Oh
the
man.
Sneeches,
The Sneeches.
Yeah,
star-bellied Sneeches.
man.
Man, what a weird world we live in, where star-bellied Sneeches is a
Exist.
phrase that most
Yeah.
people actually probably might recognize.
Yeah.
In the same universe as string theory and music
And green eggs and ham.
and green
Yeah.
eggs
Like,
and ham.
yeah. So, okay, so final thought on your hot take, Noah, is as we were discussing this, I realized neckties, like long neckties, they're just
Mhm.
front capes. They're just really
Oh, they're
wimpy
just
front
tiny,
capes.
tiny front capes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, also, speaking of front capes, aprons. Front cape.
Yeah.
Yep.
It is
What
past
Yeah.
time
Just
that aprons are relegated to blacksmiths and bakers.
what was the
yes.
original function of a cape? Was it just to show status, or I mean, I guess for warmth?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they probably started off more as cloaks.
Mm.
Although now that you mention it, I'm really curious, and we should do some research.
I'm pretty sure it was just cloaks. Like, based on the amount of fantasy books that I've read where they're like, oh man, yes, so glad that I have this cloak to throw around my shoulders on this cold winter night. You
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Yeah. That's probably true. I don't know.
Well,
If
it
I
is
start tapping
time.
away here researching, is that going to ruin everything to give our
No,
listeners an
no.
answer?
I was trying to transition to get away from that possibility, so that I don't have to edit out all the clicky clack noises. So next we have the middle question with Noah.
After
What is your middle
15
question?
minutes of hot
Oh
takes.
yeah. Yes, 15 minutes of hot takes. Um okay, what was my middle question? I had one written down. Oh, okay. Um I don't know if I have a really great answer for it off the top of my head. But what is a hobby, not just a habit, but like a hobby that you feel like a large majority of people could benefit from? So not a habit like, replacing the toilet paper roll or something important like that. Um, a hobby like something that you just do in some spare time that is, um, not a focus of your life, but that you do spend time on when it is available.
So a hobby? In other words?
So,
Thanks for
so
explaining to everyone what a hobby is, just in case anyone isn't sure.
to be clear, what I'm trying to say is to put it simply, if you're gonna summarize it, what the words that I'm trying to put together,
I'm gonna
the
keep
the
all of
the
this in.
the the
No
the
edits for
definition
you.
that we're trying to summarize here
Mhm.
is it's a hobby.
Yep, great.
Thanks for clearing that up. I was pretty confused at the beginning.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
you're
now that
welcome.
you've given yourself all this time to think, do you have an answer?
Sure. I'll throw it in off the top of my head. I would say that walking through nature, or just, I mean, we could say hiking, um, but we'll say walking through nature would be a good hobby because it is psychologically very good for you and it increases appreciation of the natural world around us. And it is very easy to get into and to do with varying amounts of time.
Right? Well, I mean, I won't argue with that. Honestly, the obvious answer for me is writing, but at the same time, I don't think writing is what I would say because I realize more and more that it's kind of a talent specific, or not even talent specific, but like skill specific hobby. You know, like it would be kind of the same as a painter saying like, "Oh yeah, everyone should paint. It's a great way of emotional expression and, you know, creating a world from nothing." And I don't want to paint because I don't want to just like, you know, spend hours and hours every day being terrible at something and then looking back at the day and being like, "Wow, yep, I am equally as terrible as when I began," which is how all of my little stints with painting have been in the past. And
Well, I
so,
mean,
you
you can
know,
do it. You can do it just for fun and be okay with it not being good. So I don't think it's the worst answer ever. And writing is an important skill. But also, I get what you're saying, where it's not the same. Like going walking around in nature or something. You're not bad at that. You know, you're
yeah,
you're just doing a simple thing. But like writing, you might not get as much out of. Maybe I don't
yeah,
know. Or especially painting, I guess, because you don't paint an essay or a job application for most people.
yeah, that is true. There is a lot more inter interprofessional transferability with writing than
Yeah,
you know, sculpting.
yeah. Anyways, what were your other thoughts going to be?
Oh man. So, I mean, really, exercise of
Oh, that's a
any
good one.
sort. Y-
That's a very logical one. Yeah,
yeah, I do not know if I have seen really any condition in my first 2 years of medical school, where exercising is an increased risk factor. It is always like, what can you do to prevent or treat this condition? Exercise. Even like osteoarthritis, which is,
exercise. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, proper exercise, of course, because like improper exercise, maybe that is like a risk factor. That is definitely a risk
Well,
factor for
sure.
osteoarthritis.
Yeah. Proper exercise. Because improper
Yeah,
exercise, that I mean, you could like add eating disorders in there. You could add like muscle and tendon injuries, stuff
yeah.
like that. But yeah, that's a really good one.
Well, thanks. I was really surprised that you didn't take that, honestly. So glad that I limboed in there. Anyway,
Yeah,
since
awesome one.
that was a
Yeah.
thoroughly cold take, apparently, judging by the
I
lack of
mean,
debate.
yeah, I don't have any real debate for that. That sounds like a great idea. Go out and
Great.
exercise, everyone,
Yeah,
in some
do your
fashion that you
squats.
enjoy.
Yep. Andrew, what is your answer?
I would say, which what I was just zoning out about reinforces this. I was looking at my
Yeah, I could
board.
see you glaring, gazing off into the middle distance.
I do have a board with equations for physics written on it for quick reference, and realized that today in my physics test I used the wrong. I did VT squared over R instead of VT over R, so
Mm.
docked points. But the hobby I would argue for is learning something not related to your career.
Mm.
Um,
Hmm.
which I realize this as I kind of am not enjoying physics as a class, but still enjoying the chemistry slash biology sciences. Um, that, maybe my career should be in biology or chemistry, or I mean, medicine probably. But like string theory and particle physics, super cool to me. And I still want to learn about them in my free time. But I've come across the reality that I am not the, Stephen Hawking who is going to be figuring these things out. But I really enjoy reading about them and
Huh.
learning what other people think about them. and maybe adding my 2 cents. But yes, so um, learn things, which is a nice compliment to either of you guys' hobbies.
Yeah, and I will totally put my backing behind that. Put my weight at your back, back you up on that. Whatever the expression
I
is meant to
will
be.
I will support what he's trying to say is when you get down to it,
Yeah, can you mansplain this for us, Noah? Can you mansplain this
the,
also?
so so so
Anyway,
just let me explain this to you real fast.
what he's trying to say is he's gonna throw his weight up in the behind area. Wow, okay, I should actually stop there. So, what I was going to say was, yeah, I totally agree with that. Learning Spanish was definitely kind of a saving grace for me, in college when I was really, really disliking the health sciences, and just kind of having that, wow, why am I here sort of feeling. And even writing, even though that wasn't quite as formalized of a learning, just the honing of the craft over time, that was also very therapeutic for me. So, yeah.
These are all very self-progressive hobbies.
Yeah, man, we should give advice to everyone, unsolicited.
Yes, we should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would love to just walk up to random people at the park and be like, "You should exercise."
Yeah. That would be great. You look unfulfilled. Learn something new. That would be
Yeah.
great. Yeah. Anyway, well, that settles the middle question. Andrew, it is your turn with the big ol' question. Last question
Okay,
of the season.
this is less of a question and more of a discussion, if that is acceptable.
I mean, they pretty much all end
Uh,
up being discussions, especially on the big question.
Okay.
Well, actually,
yeah.
they pretty much all do to an extent. I deem it acceptable if the council agrees.
Okay.
Yes, the council is concurs. Wow, words are not coming. The council
The
concurs.
council
But
is
I got that
concur.
alliteration in.
So, this thought came to me when we were talking about um, conformers in chemistry and how, or well, I mean, also like resonance structures and how a molecule is in both conformations, but more of the time it's in one conformation than the other
Hmm.
because it's more stable or whatever, but it still exists in that other conformation. And like the same principle applies with electrons. And so my thought is, does it also apply on some big greater level? I mean, I should add, because between electrons and molecules in different conformations, the common theme is a sort of energy that um, we cannot really conceptualize of. So, does this also apply to universes as a whole? And the universe we are in is just, it's either a low or high energy state of all of the possible universes. So, assuming there are infinite universes, like to be all mushy gushy, it's just low energy for us three brothers to get along really well. So it's a high probability that we are in this universe where we all love each other.
Hmm.
Or the probability of you marrying someone that you despise is really low, but that universe still exists.
I,
And
actually,
so
okay, yeah, go ahead.
just
Keep going.
any situation you are in exists just like a molecule that can be in two states. It's just like every event is just a
You're explaining this
conglomerate.
very, very concisely,
Yes, I know.
Slowly.
but at least it's a
Um,
complex thing that you're explaining, not
yeah, what a
hobbies.
hobby is.
Yeah.
Okay, so can I
Go
ask a
ahead.
clarification question right quick?
Clarification, yes.
So is the
Clarify.
question, um, what I'm getting from your question is everything that you do simply because it is the lowest energy state and it is the easiest thing?
Not everything you do is every event in your life governed by a probability.
There's the slow talking again. Um, sorry, I do not mean to call you out on that. I just think that it will make for a wonderful listening experience.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. I mean, I can't
um,
talk too fast because then I
then our
say the
little
wrong
brains would
things.
explode. Oh yeah, that
Oh,
too.
obviously.
Um, so so in that sense, like, is everything that happens to us just because it is like the simplest way, the way that things are, quote, meant to be? Is that the question?
That is still not what I'm saying. I'm not saying, I mean, yes, things will tend toward the lowest energy state.
So is okay, can I take
Yeah, you take
a
a crack
gander
at
at
it.
it? Okay.
Yes.
So is what you're saying that I I feel silly now even trying to also just rehash something that's already been said. Um,
Great.
but okay, so is what you're saying is what you're trying to discuss whether or not um, in the potential multiverse of our existence that we are typically experiencing more likely to experience the lower energy state
Yes.
instead of the higher energy state, which is a possibility but is lower probability because it is, you know, less likely.
Yes.
Okay.
So what's your answer?
I mean, I do think that it was a discussion question,
Okay. So it was a discussion statement.
a discussion statement for you guys to respond to and give me your thoughts on.
Okay. So I'd say, I mean, just as a knee-jerk reaction, that yeah, that's kind of the way, at least in my experience, things have tended towards, where like you could take the time and energy to like go out and do a whole bunch of charity work and make this awesome, great world. But I mean, everyone's going to admit, like, when push comes to shove, or most people will admit, I should say, when push comes to shove and the hours are growing short and you are tired after a long day of work, um, chances are on any given day, you will just go home and watch Netflix or write or something, play with your dog, go for a walk, instead of saying, yeah, I'm going to take these 2 hours, I'm going to go drive across town, going to go feed some homeless people, you know?
Yes. And if you think about it as like, this is a thing I'm thinking now, not something I'd thought of before. If you're,
Great.
so apologies if it ends up not making sense. But so is the,
Just say it fast and with confidence, and then nobody will ever catch it. That's what I always do.
okay, is the energy that is being added to you that lets you do these higher energy state things societal energy? Because you're more likely to like go spend some of your time for charity when you're like in high school and involved with a club that wants you to do that. Or, I mean, less ideally, a convicted of a crime and sentenced to it, or like you're trying to impress someone.
Okay, or is it not necessarily societal energy? It's just the energy from the other molecules that you're interacting with at that given state, so that you form a compound that has different resonance structures from those that you would originally be allowed as an individual atom.
Uh, say it again, but
So
slower.
so it's not that you're still this individual little molecule floating around that is has these different resonance structures that it can pop into and pop out of, each with their different likelihood. It's that there is a completely different set of resonance structures that are opened to you, or at least a different energy diagram that opens up because you are in the presence of these other molecules that you then bond with. And
Ooh,
yeah. So, like the resonance structure for nitrous oxide is way different from the resonance structure of like a phosphate ion, even though those both have oxygen molecules.
yeah.
So,
Hmm. See, this is what I
yeah.
was looking for in this discussion question.
Great. I'm glad we got here. Noah, you have been silent for a while. What are your thoughts?
Um, okay. So I think one on a just pure physics standpoint, which obviously none of us are physicists, But from with us being kind of physics nerds, along with
Nerds.
being science nerds in possible or in general, um, there's a really cool Veritasium video that talks about this concept. Oh, are you guys there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're here, just
Hello?
hanging on your every word. Oh gosh.
Uh-oh. Noah's
Oh
having
no.
troubles.
Hello?
Oh no. Should I leave this in? I feel like I should leave this in just to keep it authentic because
It is
There we
authentic.
it
go.
would
Hey
Low
be.
budget
there.
Oh,
podcast.
great. Great. Yeah. There has been no interruption whatsoever in the
Nope.
time
We are experienced. We
between
nope.
these
Nope.
statements.
There was definitely
Yep.
not any interruption. So
Yeah.
what was the last word that I
So
was
there's a
saying?
Veritasium video.
There's a Veritasium video. Okay, I'm jumping back into it. That explains this concept.
Oh, I'm not gonna edit
Really
it.
really cool. Okay,
It
perfect.
would sound weird.
So
It would sound weird if I edited it because then we'd all be like way over enthusiastic and like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
no no no
Um,
no.
Suddenly. So
Anyways, okay. So from a
carry
physics
on.
standpoint, there's a really cool Veritasium video that explains it well. The whole like idea of a sort of multiverse, but it's really just a probability space, you know, and a lot of the evidence for that. And that is super fascinating. But at the same time, I almost feel like we're talking about two different things because one is the just pure physics side of it, and the other is a little bit of kind of how you're envisioning human decision making or human experience because we probably don't like us making a particular decision is such a huge complex process that isn't necessarily distilled down to just like a single simple probability equation, right? Like
Hmm.
that simple probability equation is more for, you know, something like where a particle is going to be. Which is not to say that you couldn't, with the right amount of processing power or something, be able to comprehend the more grand probabilities, like a single decision of like which way to turn the toilet paper roll or something. But that said, it's a really cool way of envisioning um, just how society affects us and how our decisions are made. Because, like you're saying, or like we're kind of describing, um, when you make a decision, there are typically high energy or low energy states. Or like Josh was saying, there's like the higher energy state of like going out and doing something, or the lower energy state of literally being like kind of low energy, you know? Um, and I think that that is a really cool way of thinking about how we interact with the world around us, or how anything interacts with the world, or like how, you know, uh, how people act, how animals act, how companies act, and societies and everything. And I hadn't really thought of it that way before, so that was cool.
Okay, so hearing you say that, with the limited amount of choices and everything makes me think. So there is another concept that might be a little more fitting than the resonance structures, and that is the from chemistry, I should say. So with chemistry, there's the idea also that each electron has a different it can be in different shells at any given point. And all that it
Mm-hmm.
takes to excite an electron up to a higher shell is a little burst of energy. And there are discrete amounts of energy that it will take to get it to the electron to be excited up to a certain level.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And
so how many
and
coffees does it take you to get up to your next energy level?
no, you're ruining a beautiful metaphor.
Sorry,
So
go ahead.
there's an infinite number. You'll see in a moment. So there's an infinite number of these energy levels that can be achieved theoretically. And what happens, the way that the electrons get this energy and the way that they emit it is through light. When they do something, when they go from high energy and they let off that energy and they come down to a lower one, it lets off a burst of light into the world.
So you're saying when we make a decision, we're flashing people?
Yes, Noah.
Okay. Okay, I
Well,
No,
almost I almost
I.
got something from that though.
Yeah, that was beautiful. It's beautiful. Please continue.
so when you're wanting to do a higher energy state, activity or action, something that will, be harder. What you need is the support from the world around you, the light from the world around you, the people around you, from those other atoms that are bumping up against you and letting off their own light in their own ways. And when you do that thing, when you reach that high state and then you get to come back down to normal, then you let off the light that will then go hit another atom and trigger them to do the same thing.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay,
Hmm.
I feel
I
better now
like
that I've
that.
completed the metaphor.
Law of
So,
That's
conservation
a
of
really good
societal
metaphor.
energy.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Stick a stamp on that, Andrew. Patented. Law of conservation of societal energy.
Yeah, that's good.
Whoa.
Actually, really good. But
Yeah.
then there has to be like, non-conservative energy transfer, like, heat just kind
Mm.
of into the air. So what would that be?
Maybe the heat into the air is like what happens when people are not receptive, just in the
Maybe.
the most I don't know, crass of terms, just and they don't pick up on the light that you're trying to put out into the world. But then there could also be the input energy from other systems like not necessarily society, like nature or pets or um, that kind of weird ethereal energy you get from creating something where you feel more energized afterwards than during the moment. So,
Hmm. Okay, so are there also societal thermodynamics like that?
I mean, I feel like if there are, they're not necessarily the only laws of societal thermodynamics. Like if
But
we're talking about things where you can get energy in and out of the system, um, yeah, we're not going to have a one-to-one correlate.
this is really cool. A little bit more generally speaking, hearing these different ways that incredibly nerdy people, just like anyone else, make sense of and structure the world around them.
Yeah,
Just, I mean, this is, kind of an interesting way of viewing how the world works. And it's not
yeah,
necessarily more or less correct than any other way of just kind of making a framework for our minds to understand. But it's just interesting that we're using thermodynamics.
yeah,
That's that's a new one. Actually, I'm sure it's
yeah.
not a new one, but it's a cool one.
All is vanity and there's nothing new under the sun.
Well, that sufficiently brought down the mood. But I do enjoy the metaphor, Andrew. Thank you for bringing it up and for inspiring this discussion. Do you guys have any last thoughts that you would like to share?
Um, oh, I do have one last thought. So I Googled where capes came from.
Oh
Okay.
Um,
gosh, I'm gonna have to edit out the typing.
no, I didn't type. I picked up my phone and I very gently touched.
Oh, great.
Just for you.
Saved by the
Um,
touchscreen.
yeah, fear thee not. But anyways, for your learning pleasure, they were indeed mostly used for capes in Europe, but they also were used as a sign of style and class, and have become more just like a style thing. And then the ancient Aztecs also used them as primarily a style or status symbol.
Hmm.
And the pictures of them in capes, their own pictures of themselves in capes that I saw in my brief search look amazing. So
Nice.
That's really interesting. I wonder if they developed that on their own simultaneously, or if that was kind of like it was it was this vestigial symbol of like status from when humans migrated across the Bering Strait and like eventually made it
yeah,
their way down. And then they
Mm-hmm.
got
yeah,
to a
like
warm enough place and it was like, well, I mean, heck, what do we do with all of these animal furs? I mean, yeah, we could make them into a house, but I could also wear it because that'll let you
because
know
I
I'm
look
fancy.
dashing. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Cool.
yeah.
Well, thanks. I'm very glad that you Googled that. Thank you, Noah.
You're welcome. I do my best to entertain.
Absolutely. Any last comments from you, Andrew?
Yay, capes. Email us and get a free cape.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, if you are the first person to email us, I will personally like drive to your home and give you a cape. Um,
Wow. Um,
I'm
I
specifically
mean,
saying the first person because if like, heaven forbid, a year from now, lots of people listen to our podcast, I would that'd be a lot of capes to
okay, but you know
give out.
it's gonna be mom and dad, and they're gonna
Okay,
say, "Visit us. We want
if
our
you're
cape."
well, first of all, mom and dad, if you'd like a cape, I would love to make you one. And second of all, I guess the free random listener cape should be from a free random listener who is not a
Gotcha.
blood relative.
Okay, okay.
Blood relatives
I'll
have immediate access to capes at any time that they so choose,
I will
or
underwrite
immediate
that
friends or whatever.
in our
Yeah,
contract.
yeah,
Yes,
perfect.
great. Well,
Huzzah!
yes. What what better words there could not be than huzzah to finish that discussion of capes. So, wow, this went all over the place, but
Yeah.
yeah,
It
the
had all
podcast
sorts of different
is
energy states.
it sure has.
Yeah.
You guys have been the photon that has excited me into a higher level today. Let us now
Yay.
all emit our photons into the world, excite other people into their higher energy. So,
Oh.
um, wow. Created by the three of us, written by none of us, edited, produced by me, Joshua, blah, blah, blah. Um, hopefully we won't get tangled up in questions like we
it's
did this time.
it's late.
Email us, littlemittlebigel@outlook.com. T-Rex hugs. Bye.
Really trying to conserve energy right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Go for it,
Um,
y'all.
bye.
Bye.